Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Thunder and Nuggets threw down in the pivotal Game 5. Also, overrated, Haliburton and the Pacers said adios to the top-seeded Cavs. And the Saints need Aaron Rodgers right now.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
Back and forth, Denver and OKC go. Locked On Nuggets host Matt Moore and Ryan Blackburn recapped a tightly contested Game 5 in this Western Conference heavyweight battle.
It's actually less fine than if they'd gotten blown out. I'm not saying they should have just given up the ghost and gotten blown out. They had a chance to win this game.
Right.
This is fine. They're home. Altitude, Game 6. They got a chance to extend the series and get to a 7th game. That's why I said Game 3 was so important. It guaranteed this exact situation, that no matter what happened in 4 and 5, there would be a Game 6 at least for them to be able to extend the season. Sure. I thought they were going to lose this game. I thought they were going to lose it by more. And the Nuggets were able to scrap and claw and lead in this game and had a chance to win it. On the flip side of this, I think let's talk about the clutch thing. Okay, so the Nuggets win Games 1 and Game 3, and the narrative is, those young Thunder, inexperience. When it gets tight, that championship experience of Denver shines through. And I think that was true. I think it was accurate. I don't regret anything I said on that. I didn't go as far as some people did, but I think it was absolutely a thing. But here's the thing. You get more than one crack at it. And when you're in these games, it can be Lou Dort hits 2 threes that some people thought he would never hit. It is that your guys go cold on wide open corner 3 shots. The Nuggets generated, this is my thing with the offense in that fourth quarter. Everyone's the shooting splits, and this is I continue to be this is just the bane of my existence. The Nuggets generated good looks until about the last 4 minutes of this quarter. They generated good looks. They got wide open corner 3s from guys who have hit them throughout the course of their playoff run.
Yeah,
they just missed. They missed shots. Last 4 minutes, the offense was a disaster. They were gassed and ran out of steam. We'll talk about that. But they had opportunities to put this game away and couldn't because they just role players missed shots on the road. You got Game 6 at home. This is fine. It's less fine because of the way that it happened in terms of, I think, specifically Adelman. And I think it's I know that everybody wants the Jokic has masterclass and the Nuggets win because Jokic is awesome. That didn't happen.
Okay. Let's reset. Let's reset here. Jokic was fantastic. That was a thing that happened. It was great. It was great to see him bounce back in this situation. And you're right. They did not get enough shot making from everybody. Jokic went, I think, 4 of 6 in that quarter, in the fourth quarter, and the rest of the Nuggets went 1 of 15. But the one make was a concession basket right at the end of the game for Murray. It was horrible. It was a really tough performance. Jokic had carried them through for a lot of this. He did carry them through in a lot of this moment.
He did. No, he did. I'm not denying that, Ryan. Just because I'm frustrated with fans' reaction, because I think that they actually when they get to be oh, poor Jokic, why doesn't he have any help? That doesn't mean that that's not what happened, Ryan. You're absolutely right that that's what happened. Jokic had 44 points on 7.
It was unbelievable. The Sombor shuffle that he hit was unbelievable.
Unbelievable shot. 15 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. He only had 2 turnovers in this game.
Yeah.
He was tremendous. He was phenomenal.
The shot making in this one was great. They needed it. They needed that boost in this one. They absolutely got it. And it's tough. This was going to be a game that happened, though. And I think people are kind of overreacting a little bit that this is in this moment, in this game, this is actually the perfect opportunity in a Game 5 for Jokic to be fantastic and for the Nuggets to lose anyway because the role players just didn't travel and shoot well enough. That's just straight up what happened. Christian Braun made a couple of threes early in this game and then clanked for the rest of it. Russell Westbrook missed the rim by 6 feet. That's way too much. That's not actually what happened, but he was airballing a couple of different ones. Michael Porter, the final 2 shots that he attempted, it's why he's in the game, but I had zero faith that he was going to hit them, and then he airballed one of them. Like, everybody, like Jamal Murray also deserves a lot of criticism in this one too. Like, he had a great beginning of the third quarter. There's no doubt about it. The rest of the game, he was just straight up bad. And Denver needed him to be able to take over in some of these moments and like to be able to give Jokic at least a little bit of a breakout there so that he was able to put in a little bit more on the defense. But like, I thought that Murray's first half was poor, and I thought that his third quarter was great, and I thought that his fourth quarter was poor. He had so many opportunities. Like, these are open jumpers. These are ones that he usually makes in his sleep. He just clanked them all.
You can stay up to date all year on the Denver Nuggets by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Nuggets on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Cavs are already packing for Cancun. Before we get to that, Clayton Kershaw still has a little juice left in the tank. The NBA playoffs roll on, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. FanDuel makes betting easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props. From 3-pointers to steals to assists, there's so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. You can lay a little something in celebration of the Celtics' downfall, if you would be so inclined. Of course, not celebrating Jayson Tatum's injury. That's horrible, and you feel terrible for him. FanDuel has Boston favored by 4.5 points over the Knicks, but without Tatum, things could look a little different than the spread indicates. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Clayton Kershaw is back. We don't call it a comeback. The 37-year-old Dodgers legend will make his season debut this Saturday against the Angels after recovering from toe and knee surgeries. It'll mark his 18th season in the Dodger blue, tying a franchise record, and comes at a crucial time with multiple starters already on the IL. With 3,000 strikeouts in reach and the postseason on his mind, he's aiming to finish this chapter of his Hall of Fame career on his own terms. The Stars are heading to the Western Conference Finals after flying past the Jets.
Game 4 was a must-win for the Winnipeg Jets, and they fell short. Finishing, special teams, whatever you want to say it was, the Jets just didn't have the juice. Harrison Lee from Locked On Winnipeg Jets here, and it was a very tough road loss. It wasn't quite like the other road losses where the Jets collapsed, but Winnipeg unfortunately gave up a hat trick to Mikael Granlund and just really could not find the offense and slot penetration that they needed to get through this game. It wasn't the worst effort, and I will applaud the guys for fighting through fatigue and probably frustration, but at the end of the day, the Jets have not been able to get it done. The series isn't over, but this feels like, at this point, Winnipeg's on the brink of elimination. They have a lot to show. Game 5 is going to be a big test for this team, as every game has basically been throughout the playoffs. And if the Jets simply can't get it done, it is what it is. But I really don't want this to be the end. Winnipeg needs to show up in a big way, not only at home, but on the road. We'll see you soon throughout the rest of the series, but thanks for listening. Have a great night, and as always, go Jets go.
Unfortunately, it was as bad as we thought, as bad as we feared. When Jayson Tatum went to the ground in Game 4 late in the fourth quarter, it looked like an Achilles injury, and it was a torn Achilles in Boston's Game 4 loss to the Knicks.
John Corrales here from the Locked On Celtics podcast. The Celtics have announced that Jayson Tatum has suffered a ruptured Achilles tendon and has undergone surgery to repair it. The surgery was successful, and no timeline has been set for his return. They do expect him to make a full recovery, but that's still going to be complicated. The typical return for an Achilles tendon injury like this can be somewhere between 6 and 12 months. Tatum being on the younger side, it's a little surprising that a 27-year-old has suffered an injury like this, but it also gives him the opportunity with his youth, with his physical fitness, to maybe heal a little bit quicker. So there is the potential for him to heal and come back in that 6-month time frame. But first step is heal from the surgery. Then there is a long process of rehabbing, not just the leg, but having the mental rehab to deal with a catastrophic injury that he's never dealt with before. There's a mental hurdle for Tatum to clear because he has to now learn to trust his body again. Taking that one big step and having that type of injury can make it difficult for a player to come back. Losing confidence is a thing that most of these guys who've gone through these big injuries have to deal with, have to learn to get over. So there's a mental aspect of retraining your mind to trust your body and rebuilding your body to get back into the type of physical condition that you need to be a high-level NBA player. So there's no doubt that Tatum will miss at least the beginning of the upcoming season. He's who knows if he's going to be back around Christmas time. 6 months would bring him somewhere around the holidays. If it's longer, then obviously that takes him into the All-Star break and beyond. Who knows where the Celtics are going to be after that. Full analysis coming up on the next Locked On Celtics podcast. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts and watch the show here on YouTube.
The Cleveland Cavaliers were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They are now planning their vacations in Cancun. A 114-105 loss in Game 5 in Cleveland at home. Danny Cunningham joins me now from said arena, and it's about as loud now as it was at the end of the game when fans realized this was over. Danny, how do you try and put some context into perspective into what we saw over the last 5 games here?
I think that you have to start with calling it a failure. That's what it was. That's what this season ultimately amounts to. The Cavs won 64 games. They were an incredible team this season. They were the best team in the Eastern Conference from start to finish. Everything lined up for them perfectly to go on a deep postseason run for the first time with this group together. And ultimately, despite all of that being true, we sit here and I'm talking to you after Game 5 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, the same way the Cavs exited last season in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. There was no shame in losing to the Boston Celtics last year in 5 games. That team went on to ultimately win the NBA championship. They were by far the better team. The Cavs were beat up, and we don't know what the Indiana Pacers are going to do as they now advance to the conference finals, and who knows what could be beyond that. But the Cavs went into that series last year as a very, very heavy underdog. And this year, they were a very, very heavy favorites. And had they handled their business, they would be an extremely heavy favorite to get out of the Eastern Conference. Instead, you and I are sitting here on a Tuesday night in May, far sooner than anyone anticipated, doing essentially the eulogy on the 2025 Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, and there'll be plenty of time to do the deep dives into what went wrong and what that means for the future. We don't have to do that part of it today, but the injuries and the extent to which that impacted all of this does hang over whatever Cleveland decides to do next, because you have to first parse, okay, why did this happen? What to you, Danny, is the biggest reason why they, to use your words, failed?
I think the biggest reason they failed is they were not ready to play at the tempo at which the Indiana Pacers play at. I thought the Pacers, for the vast majority of this series, certainly in Game 5, Game 1, Game 4, there's a different conversation about Game 2, and then the Cavs handled their business in Game 3, but they controlled the way that this game was played, that this series was played. That's where the Cavs were hurt the most. Offensively, they did not resemble anything on that end of the floor to what they were during the regular season or even in the first round series against the Miami Heat. This Cavs team looked unrecognizable, and the Pacers deserve a lot of credit for that. And when you get out of your offensive flow, as I thought the Cavs did during this series, and you essentially turn into the worst three-point shooting team in basketball, you're not going to find success. The Cavs this season, during the regular season, made wide open three-pointers at a 42% rate. That was the best mark in the NBA. During this series, they made wide open three-pointers at a less than 25% rate. That is essentially 10% worse than the Orlando Magic, who were the worst shooting team in the entire NBA this season. So the Pacers got them out of their game, and then their ability to connect on shots beyond the arc absolutely vanished.
And you needed Herculean efforts from your superstars. You got that from Donovan Mitchell. And in the one game where he is, dragging the team, you can't close it out. And it was just sort of at that moment, I don't want to say that I knew it was over, but it felt like in that moment, that was the opportunity for them to retake this series. And they had built this team, Danny, in the regular season. They were deep. They could come at you with all of these different guys. They could play all of these different ways. And it just felt like the thing that they had been so great at, Ty Jerome and Strus, and like all the different pieces, they needed them to elevate. And when it mattered the most, they didn't have those guys there. They did not show up.
Right, exactly. It was Max Strus had a very bad game 5. I thought he was really the only Cavs role player that had a solid series prior to this game. Ty Jerome, I thought at times was unplayable in this series in game 5. He gave the Cavs a bit of a spark in the second half after not playing in the first half. He actually did hit a couple of 3-pointers, something he was not capable of doing earlier in the series. You know, you bring up game 2, that game they lost, and that's sort of where you could see this thing go off the rails on that Tyrese Haliburton 3-pointer near the buzzer of the fourth quarter. In that game, Ty Jerome was 1 of 14. If he plays better, the Cavs win that game. There are going to be a lot of things from this series that I think the Cavs are going to spend the next several months before we watch this team play basketball again, questioning. And I think it's fair to question just about everything. Donovan Mitchell, I thought, despite very clearly being hampered by at least 1, if not 2, lower left leg injuries, was a star in this series. There should be no questions about what he is capable of, not only as a basketball player, but as a winner as well. The rest of the Cavs ultimately just weren't good enough. And that, I think, leads to an offseason filled with a lot of questions about a team that without a doubt had a magical regular season, but came up short when it counted.
Stay up to date all year on the Cleveland Cavaliers by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Knicks on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up while they're at it, the Saints should just throw gas on the fire. Saints quarterback room is awful. The battle is set between the only signal caller Lincoln Riley couldn't turn into a Heisman candidate and, well, a rookie that qualifies for AARP. At least that's what fans in New Orleans have told me. Locked On NFL host Tyler Rowland believes that the Saints can solve this by adding Aaron Rodgers.
Now, I agree with Ross. Out of the guys on the roster right now, I think it's pretty obvious to me that they would go with the quarterback that they just drafted as a new coaching staff over previous projects like a Jake Haener or Spencer Rattler that Ross mentioned there. But, Lauren, can I just be honest? Those guys are terrible. I think Tyler Shuck is terrible, too. Like, I think we're talking about Tyler Shuck, Jake Haener, Spencer Rattler. If you took every quarterback and backup quarterback in the NFL, that's 64 guys. I think all 3 of those guys would be ranked 50 or lower. Like, I would have Rattler lower than 64, and I would have Haener lower than 64. And Tyler Shuck, maybe 50, 51, 52, something like that. I just do not believe in any of these guys. So, in my opinion, unless the Saints are truly taking their medicine and tanking, which, listen, if they do that, I've been begging them to do it for a couple of seasons now. I'm not going to be mad at them if they do it, but I just have a hard time believing that they're going to go into the season with those 3 quarterbacks and only those 3. Aaron Rodgers is still out there. Would you rather play for New Orleans or play for Pittsburgh if you're Aaron Rodgers? I think there's a discussion to be had there based on the division. And, you know, what about other options like a trade for Kirk Cousins, or could they go trade for Kenny Pickett just to get another guy in there who played with Kellen Moore in Philadelphia last year? Like, I just refuse to believe the Saints are going to continue piling forward with just these 3 quarterbacks, and that's all it's going to be for them. If you are Aaron Rodgers, would you rather play for the Saints or the Steelers?
Look, the Saints have to stop this. They have to stop this. No, they should not sign Aaron Rodgers. For what? For what? To do what? They're not good enough to do anything. The Steelers could catch lightning in a bottle. You bring in DK Metcalf. We know Mike Tomlin can coach defense. We know that's a talented defensive roster. They've made the offensive improvements with Rodgers, with DK, that could catapult them into getting lucky in the AFC. You get to a divisional round game, an AFC championship game. Aaron Rodgers and the Saints does not do that. That does not put them in the echelon with the Eagles, the Lions, the Packers. Hell, it doesn't even put them in the same category as the Buccaneers in their own division. And you want to invite that nonsense, those shenanigans into your locker room? Kellen Moore, first-time head coach, wants to deal with that headache? No, I can tell you that. Look, firsthand experience watching it. This is the Del Curry. You're not built for this. You don't want that. And finally, baseball's most infamous ban list just got shorter. Commissioner Rob Manfred ruled Tuesday that Major League Baseball's lifetime bans end upon death, officially removing Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, and others from the league's ineligible list. That now clears the way for potential Hall of Fame consideration for the game's most controversial legends. It's too late for Rose, who passed away last year, to see it possibly happen, but it's not too late for Cooperstown to decide if baseball's biggest sinners are now worthy of sainthood. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up are the Knicks about to party like it's 1999. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.